I've been really looking forward to hanging out today and catching up with an old friend of mine that I've played a lot of music with over the years, some of my favorite gigs that I've played over the years, and I can't wait to talk about some of those with him. I just have a lot of love and respect for him as a player and a singer, but more than anything, just a human being. I just think the world of him and just can't wait to hear his story. So without further ado, a big welcome to my pal, Mr. Wilson Braswell. Hey, Wilson.
Hey, Brad. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too, man. I've been really looking forward to this. I was telling some folks yesterday that I was going to talk to you, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to listen to you talking with Wilson." So it's great.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. We caught up on the phone the other day, and I'm glad we did. And just I've been thinking for a long time I wanted to get you on here, and I'm glad that kind of gave us the shove to get this thing on the calendar and do it. So I appreciate you doing this today.
Oh, yeah.
So how are things? I know you've been you still playing.
Oh, yeah. Still playing a lot. I guess 65, 70 times a year, usually.
That's great. Just one of my absolute favorite guitar players and singers, just soulful, just play right to the song and just play exactly what's needed. And yeah, man, you sound so good.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm excited to know more about because you and I met. I was trying to think about back when we met. Was it around like 06 maybe?
Yeah, 05 or 06.
Yeah.
I think we were getting you to sub for us with something. Maybe Jimmy Mouton brought you in, I think.
That's exactly right. And then we all started playing together, and boy, we played together.
Right after that, I left the Borderline band.
Mm-hmm.
And me, you, Gino, and Jimmy.
And yeah, we played a lot of gigs all over the place, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Georgia, South Carolina. We played North Carolina, I think. We played all over the place.
I was looking at a calendar of 06 and part of 07, and we were almost 100 shows a year with that band.
Wow. That's a lot.
I mean, for doing what we were doing, it certainly was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And a lot of the gigs we were doing were a lot of out-of-town stuff. I remember I'd work through the week and then drive up on Friday to, South Carolina, and we may play a Friday night there and then play a Saturday night in Georgia, or we'd play a whole weekend up there, and we would stay, stay up there. A lot of great music, just all kinds of stuff. We played everything you can think of, from country stuff to Allman Brothers to Steely Dan to, Peter Gabriel to everything in between. We were doing it all. It was so much fun.
It really was. I missed that. Yeah,
me too. When did the music thing happen for you? When were you bit by the bug of it?
Probably you were a kid? 8 or 9 years old. Yeah, my daddy played, and he had some friends that played. So at our house on the weekends, it was move the furniture out of the room, and the adults started playing, drinking, and dancing. And all the kids just sat on the floor and watched, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah, just soaking it all in.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff were they playing?
My daddy was a Jimmy Reed nut.
Okay, that's awesome.
Our family, you put one of his songs on, and everybody in my genetic line will put their food down and start dancing. That's just
that's great. Yeah, and are you from Talladega?
Yeah, from Talladega.
Yeah, and and I think I've been back to. I think maybe we were over that way. I want to say we went to your parents' house over there. This was at some point through all of that. I remember.
Yeah, I feel like we did too. I guess can't remember why. I don't remember why we were there, but
yeah, just super people. I've talked about it a ton on this podcast. About that whole thing of just sitting around in family jam sessions on the weekends where people would just sit up playing until the wee hours of the morning, and just being a little kid, just looking at it like, this is absolutely what I want to do right here, and just soaking it all in. And
I thought everybody did it too. I didn't know it was just happening at my house.
I could have said those same words myself. I didn't know it either, and some families get together and, they may hang out and watch the football game or something. Our family got together and they played music. That's what we did, but I wouldn't trade anything for those memories.
Me either. Not at all.
I feel so lucky to have, I was telling someone this yesterday I'm happy that I grew up at the time in which I grew up in, it's a different world now. And I'm glad that I got to experience it when I did, for music's sake, for everything's sake, it was a slower pace back then,
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you start playing? Around that time?
I started playing, but just playing at home in the bedroom and stuff like that. And then maybe at 14 and 15, sitting around with friends and playing with other people. And I got my first real band. I think I was just turned 17.
Oh, okay, cool.
Actually, auditioned and got hired as a rhythm guitar player and singer.
That's awesome. What were you guys, what kind of, were they your age or were they older than you?
They were a couple of years older than me, and it was a kind of a managed act. Booking agency sort of owned the band and kept us booked, provided our costumes, a van to travel in, our hotel rooms. They took care of all that. And we all four traveled in one van, all stayed in one room.
Yep. And everything to cut down the costs, right?
Yeah, his big connection was military installation. So we would do these 90-day summer tours all over the Midwest and West, playing NCO clubs, officers clubs, teen centers, and go, really one-nighters for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet you could really notice a difference in your playing at the end of one of those runs after playing consistently.
I'd sure hate to hear what we must have sounded like the first road trip.
What kind of stuff were y'all doing?
All top 40 stuff. Same stuff I still do, right? If you look at, I could show you a song list from that band and you'd go, oh, that's all the songs Wilson does.
Well, that's good because they're good songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still doing all those too.
Well, you should, because you do them really good. So I remember my favorite song to hear you sing was "Dark Eyed Cajun Woman." Every time I hear that song, within 2 notes, I think of Wilson Braswell.
Wow.
Yep. I just love it.
When I've always liked it. It's one of my favorite songs by the Doobies, but everywhere I've played it, most people come up and say, never heard that song before.
That's a shame, isn't it?
It is.
I talk with this friend of mine a lot about that, about there are certain bands like Journey or the Doobie Brothers where there's 2 different versions of the band, right? There's the pre-Michael McDonald Doobie Brothers and then the Michael McDonald Doobie Brothers. And there are certainly 2 camps about how people feel about a lot of that.
You probably grew up in the Michael McDonald Doobie Brothers.
I did. Yeah, I sure did, and I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I almost treat it as a listener as almost two different bands with the same name.
For sure.
But yeah, that stuff, gosh, it's so good. And I know you do a whole lot of Allman Brothers, and you do it right. You know what I mean? You hear a lot of bands do Allman Brothers, and it's always it's like an imitation of an Allman Brothers. You play it right,
Well, I never thought of it like that, but that's a big compliment. I appreciate that. That's very flattering.
Yeah, I always enjoyed the way you felt those tunes. A lot of times I feel like people get a little overzealous with the tempo in a lot of those songs. And I think it's nice to just kind of let them sit back a little bit and just kind of let the groove speak for itself and not let the tempo dictate it too much,
Yeah, I agree with that in so many ways. I'm the guy that always thinks it's Russian and everybody else is thinking it's Dragon.
I'm the same way. And I think that, live shows, I understand that people feel like it needs to be faster, but energy and tempo are not the same thing.
No, sir, not at all.
They are not the same thing. And you can have as much energy in pulling back the tempo about 3 or 4 beats and letting there be a little bit more space in there and not let everything fighting all over each other for the speed,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I got carried away there. I could talk about that stuff for the rest of the day. Were you practicing at home a lot before all that stuff, or did you immediately start playing with people?
I immediately started playing with people, and most of what I can do really came from playing with others. I've never been a sit at home play guy much.
Yeah.
I need other people when I play. That's really, I got to have that chemistry.
Yeah.
Of a band. Solo or duos, just not for me. I want a band when I play.
You like having a rhythm section and like all that. Yeah, no, I get it. And there is no substitute for playing with other people, right? I mean, having that back and forth with playing with people that's where it's at,
And it's when you finally reach a stage where you can really communicate with one another musically, you get those magic moments.
Those magic moments.
You go, oh boy, now I know why people do this.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. I totally agree. I totally agree. When did you come from Alabama straight to Georgia, or did you live somewhere else?
My teenage years, I lived in Panama City.
Oh, okay.
That's where this first band I got hired by was in Panama City. And so up till I was 21 or 22, I lived and played mostly in Panama City other than those summer tours we took.
Were you gigging all around Panama City?
Yeah, and this was back in a time when all the clubs had bands 7 nights a week. So it was, it was a full, you could be a full-time 6-night-a-week player there, making about what we make now, honestly. It paid way better than regular jobs back then.
Man,
funny how it hadn't changed.
I know, and that's something. Yeah, I've still got to pay the guys $100 a piece. Were you just playing full time?
Yeah.
Did you didn't have a day job? You're just playing.
Played full time.
That's great. That is awesome. I that part of the time period is it's before my time, but I know so many people that played a lot in that Panama City area. And it was just what a great time to be a musician, because you could play as much as you wanted to down there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you really could.
Did you move down there knowing somebody, or did you just go and?
No, my mother and I went down there together. And
really?
Yeah. She got a job and I got a job, and met a guy that played guitar and got friends with him, and, just met a few other musicians. And I guess I was there a couple of years before I really started playing with people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and doing that road gig. My buddy Steve Ward did something very similar to that, playing in a show band, and he just talked about how much better you get in a situation like that. Just, especially if you're playing pretty much the same show every night, same tunes every night. You just really can kind of dig in and improve on what you're doing. That's great. I guess we would be, I don't want to jump. I want to jump around a little bit, because as you were talking, I'm just sitting here thinking, we got to talk about Gino Lesage today. We just got to talk about him. I can't put into words what his talent meant to me, and I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, off the chains.
I mean, I remember the first time I met him was with you, and I just
probably at the music store rehearsing with us the first time.
Yeah, that's it. And I just was like, whoa, what a talent. What an unbelievable talent he had. And as a player and as a singer, and just seeing the big picture, like as a producer, right?
Yeah.
To hear a tune and say, let's tweak this. I really learned a lot in that period.
He was a good composer and a good producer. And I guess 19 years with Colin Ray, he saw and heard a lot of stuff and did a lot of things.
Yeah. And anyone that's listening to this, don't tell Colin I said this, but I think Gino could sing Colin's tunes as well, or maybe better a little bit than he could. I love to hear him sing those songs.
You can certainly tell they were together for a long time, because to me they sound almost alike.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So yeah, it was me and you and Gino and the great Jimmy Mouton.
Yeah.
Jimmy Mouton played, and then George Sandler played a lot too.
Yeah.
And it was just good. It was so much fun.
So to me, it's still probably, looking back, it's the best configuration I've ever been involved with.
Yeah, I agree.
To not do any more than we did other than go play a bunch of clubs. I think that band had a lot of potential.
I agree. No, I totally agree.
Everybody on the stage could sing. You don't get that very often, and that was special.
It was special. And what I loved about it is that all of us brought something different to the table, but there was also this very similar thing right in the middle, and it all just worked together. The harmony stuff, the solo play, just all of it was just so good.
And I don't recall us ever even discussing what we might do with backup vocals on a song. We just all knew our part and sang it.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Nobody ever had to say anything to anybody.
No, we would just look at each other and do it. Those type moments don't come around very much, and I suppose that's good because that really I suppose it makes you appreciate them a lot more.
Yeah.
I was telling you on the phone the other day that if I had to pick my favorite times I've ever played in my life, one of those would, near the very top of the list, would be one of the times I got to play with you. And that was when me and you and Jimmy Mouton and Shannon Wickline played for my mom's 50th birthday party.
Oh, in your garage.
In my garage.
Yes.
That was unbelievable. It was so much. It was like so laid back, but it was like the band was cooking and everybody was dancing and having fun.
Totally improv too. We didn't know anything.
We just all showed up and played.
It was like being at your house in the living room when you were a kid and your family was there.
That's exactly
right.
You
knew they were going to love you no matter what you played.
That's
so
it.
You wasn't scared.
I was just telling Skylar about it yesterday, and I said, "Listen, you were there. You don't remember it because you were a little kid running around. He's 23 now.
Wow.
And it's just it feels like it was a long time ago, but it feels like yesterday all at the same time. That was so good. When you were coming up and learning to play, what all were you listening to the same stuff you were playing in this band, or what were your musical tastes?
Really very broad. I was a big Doobie Brothers fan. I was a big Allman Brothers fan. I was a huge Bad Company fan, Steely Dan. And when we was doing this touring in the van, we had an 8-track tape player, and we usually only had about 4 or 5 tapes. So after 3 months, it didn't matter which tape was in. You knew which song was going to play next. That's how much you'd heard this music. But
right.
So yeah, we listened, rinse and repeat to most all of our favorite stuff every day and every night.
Yeah. Did you start playing first or did you sing first? Which happened first?
I tell you, I think a few months before I got in that band, they were looking for a lead guitar player, and I had never played any lead and really had never played in a band. And I auditioned, but I told them before it started, I said, I really don't play lead guitar. I said, but I think I can do pretty good rhythm guitar. And they said, do you sing? And I said, no, not that I know of, but I'll try something. So I sang, I think it was Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone by Bill Withers is what I think I sang. And at the end of the audition, they said, man, you really can't carry the guitar load we need. We really need a strong lead guitar player. But can we call you back if we ever need a rhythm guitar player? And I said, certainly. And about a month later, the guy who actually ran the band, he was the rhythm guitar player, the singer, and the band leader. He quit the band. So they called me and auditioned me again and hired me. And then a couple of months later, the lead guitar player quit. So I just kind of got pushed into having to take those breaks in the songs. And again, I'm glad there weren't tapes running.
But what a great push to just maybe force you out of your comfort zone a little bit and to do all that stuff. And I don't know how you feel about it. I feel like I'm a singer that plays bass, and that's how I like I think of myself. I don't know if you feel like, if you ever think about it, like if you're a guitar player that sings, you know what I mean?
I do. The funny thing about singing is I've never ever applied myself to it. I never practiced it, never really tried to do it. I just did it. But yeah, I do think my value to a group probably, I think of myself as a singer that plays guitar.
Yeah.
And,
you know,
and I'm bad self-critical. And if I gave my guitar playing a grade, I hit the mediocre mark in my mind. But I think a lot of people feel that way about themselves. I think we all do ourselves that way.
Yeah, well,
you compare yourself to there's a standard we compare ourselves to, and I never have been able to meet that standard. So now I say at 68 years old, I say my goal would be peer approval. Now, if my musician buddies would just respect my level of playing, that'd suit me. Okay.
Yeah, well, I can tell you on behalf of everybody I know, you certainly have that respect from your peers that love to hear you play.
Well, thank you.
I think we were just talking about this the other day. That story about that famous classical cellist that somebody asked him why he was still practicing at 90 years old, and he said, "Well, I feel like I'm finally making some progress." That's really it. I mean, it's like I don't ever want to get too comfortable with how I feel I can play, because I think that's when it becomes dangerous territory. You should always try to be improving,
I agree. I take it way too serious for most people because it really matters to me. I really want to be the best I can be, and I don't want to stop. There's so much more I know I could learn. I just hope I can live long enough to, take it all in.
Yeah.
And I had I got married at 22, and my wife had a 5-year-old, and disco was coming in. This was 1978. So the gigs were getting thin. So I got completely out of the band direction, sold all my stuff, and I didn't even have a guitar in my home again until 1990. I went 12 years without touching a guitar, without going to a club, without hearing a concert.
Really?
Yeah. And so in 1990, it's funny, I got a divorce and went to Wallace Reed's store in Duluth and bought a Les Paul and started playing some in a church I was going to. And that kind of got me back into playing again. So I took a long, long time off, and I could use that as my excuse. I could say, well, I'd probably be better if I'd have been playing those 12 years. But, that's been 35 years ago now. So I can't use that excuse anymore.
Did you, and I mean, obviously the technical part of it, right? If you don't play for a while, it takes a while to get your chops back up. But did you notice something about the way you approached music, like as a musician with that time off? Because, I mean, I imagine you did a lot of maturing as a person and a lot of life experience in that period. Did you find that you played as differently after all that time?
I did. I think I had more of an emotional connection in a much better ear. Those first 4 years of playing a lot and traveling, still young and just, wanting to be a rock star, I guess, and not really thinking what I was doing was probably pretty good, but again, you look back on that and you go, gosh, look at what all you didn't know back then.
Yeah, that's it. And
every now and then we would do a showcase. We might be in Kansas or somewhere like that and do a showcase at a college where they're hiring for the next season for their fraternity parties and stuff. And that was my first chance to see some other local bands of that area that were our age and hear them playing the songs they were playing and seeing the equipment they had. And I'm going, oh, Lord, we are way out of our league here now. But, I don't think anybody ever thought that but us. Everybody else we're just another band. But all I could see was we didn't belong there. We were these guys could play.
Well, I would imagine some of those other bands were looking at you guys thinking the same thing, I mean, I'm sure you were a heck of a lot better than you were giving yourselves credit for at the time,
Well, I guess, still it doesn't seem like it to me, but we kept working. So I guess we always got hired back.
Yeah. But as we get older and start playing, we hear, I mean, think about the first time you heard the Mike Veal band. You're just whoa.
Yeah, I was going to go home and take my guitar and put it in the garbage disposal. When I heard Barry Thrasher, and I said, that's it. I'm not going to put a guitar in my hand in front of anybody ever again.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever heard Jimmy Mouton, he was playing with Mike Veal. And the first time I played with him for something, I was terrified. I'm like, I have no business playing with this dude. Those guys are like, they're on another level, those guys in that band. And just the output of, they've forgotten more songs than I'll ever remember, It's unbelievable.
I know you know Chris Blackwell.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when Chris first got the job with Mike Veal a few years back, he posted on Facebook. He said, I just got the gig with Mike Veal, and all I got to do now is just go home and learn every song there is.
That is the truth. I remember Jimmy used to say, like, he'd get a text on Friday afternoon that'd be like, hey, we're going to play the entire B-side of Abbey Road tonight. Make sure you know it. It's like, what? It's like, what? Those are those people that we just, they're like on the Mount Rushmore of musicians to me. And Barry, man, golly, what a force he was, and what a sweetheart too.
One night, you, Jimmy, Gino, and I were playing in Norcross, the little restaurant there that used to be Slocum's.
Nemo's, yeah.
Yeah, and Barry Thrasher came walking in on his way to a gig at Tavern on the Bridge, and I thought I was just going to die. We were just fixing to start. He came up and said hi and said, I only got about 10 minutes, but I just wanted to hear y'all on my way. And I forget what we played Pirate Looks at 40 or something like that. And I knew I was all thumbs. But I left there thinking, I hope I ever get a chance for him maybe to hear me when I don't know he's in the room.
Yeah, boy. I mean, all those Tommy Vickery and just all of those guys and all the great, of course, Tom Gross, but then Kenny Head and the late Terry Emery. I think Terry played with us some.
He sure did. Yeah, he subbed for Gino some. Kenny subbed for Gino some. Shannon subbed for Gino some.
Yeah, that's it. The first time I met Shannon Wickline he was subbing for Gino.
Well, we were at the Tavern on the Bridge one night playing there, and Gino needed to miss the last set. His girlfriend got sick out on the patio or something like that, and asked, could Shannon just pick up the last set for him? That's the first night I ever met Shannon. And our very first song we did with him was by the Meters.
Sissy Strut?
No, the more simpler. Hey, na, na, hey, na, na.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of the name of it, but.
And he played, yeah.
And he played Standing Up.
Yeah, played Standing Up.
And he was just a machine. And then I heard him play guitar, and dadgum.
I know. He, the first time I met him, me and you and him and Jimmy played at the Derby over on the Nesbitt Ferry. That was the first time I ever met him. And
he was still kind of new to town then.
New to town, yeah. He, I just couldn't believe. I mean, it's just like all you guys, just overflowing with talent, and just like, what? I mean, you just pinch yourself, and you're like, how am I getting to stand here and do this with these people?
And all beautiful people. That's the thing. I mean, no attitudes, no. It's just something.
It's something.
A nice, funny short story about Shannon. After Shannon got the gig with Charlie Daniels, I had a B3, a 1956 B3 that I'd bought several years ago when I was working some with Dan Toller. I bought it we had a keyboard buddy in New York that would come, and we had always had to rent a B3. So I bought this one and kept it. Well, Shannon had decided he wanted one, and Charlie wanted him to have one. So he came and looked at that one and bought it. And I delivered it. They had a show in Vidalia at a festival. So I delivered the thing to them backstage, helped them load it and get it up on the stage. And they had me some real nice backstage accommodations. And I already knew Charlie Hayward, the bass player.
Yeah.
And I had met Charlie Daniels a few times. And this was just, I guess, a few months after, or maybe a year after Taz had the wreck and got killed. But anyway, Shannon says, "You got a guitar with you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You going to get up and play one?" And I said, "No." And Susie's hit me with her elbow saying, "What do you mean?" I said, "Give it 20 minutes. You hear them and you'll see exactly what I mean. I ain't getting up on that stage for them." Now, they would have get guessed up and play The South's Going to Do It Again. I probably could have muffled my way through that. And sometimes now I hate, especially since Charlie's gone, I really wish I'd have taken advantage of that opportunity and got on that stage. I think that would have been a memory that would have lasted a long time. But yeah. I didn't have the guts and probably still don't. Not only am I bashful, but I know when there's three other people, those guys are players.
Oh, they are. Part of me wants to say, Wilson, you should have done it. But I also am right there with you, and I probably would have done the same exact thing because, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that band many times, and they're a force. I mean,
I went to 2 or 3 shows later, and I was in the restroom, and I remember hearing some guys talking. I've heard these bands before, and they're good if you like country. And I'm thinking, shoot, when you ain't heard, if you think these guys are country, you just wait a few minutes.
You just wait a few minutes. Yeah, they are. They were something else. Yeah. And Taz was amazing with the band. And then there was this whole different thing that happened when Shannon started playing with the band. He just brought his thing to it as well. Yeah. I got to know. We used to do this. We used to do this event every year down in Florida with this organization. It's a organization and a facility for like developmentally challenged adults. And Charlie was a huge donor of it. For this thing. And we used to play down there and he was at it and I got to know him pretty well. And he is absolutely everything that you would see and more when he was not on stage. Just the sweetest person, and his whole camp was that way, right? They were just the nicest people. It was unbelievable. I wanted to ask you, how did you meet Dan Toller?
Funny thing, it was 1995 or 96. I'd earlier bought the 2 Greg Allman Band records. With I'm No Angel was one of them. The second one was Just Before the Bullets Fly. It's the only 2 records they did together as a band. And I immediately fell in love with whoever this guitar player was. Well, it turns out a friend of mine that worked at a music store told me all about him. It was Dan Toller. And then the next year he said, Dan died with a heart attack. So for years I thought he was dead. And I get Guitar Player magazine every month, and I see this seminar in Florida, National Guitar Workshop, and said they're going to have a special seminar conducted by Dan Toller. And I said, wait a minute, he's supposed to be dead.
How are they going to pull this off?
Anyway, I sign up for that and go down to Sarasota, and hundreds of people there for the guitar camp, but only 3 people signed up for the Dan Toller seminar. I guess most people didn't know who he was. So when he walked in, it was me and 2 other guys that could barely play. And we spent 6 days with him all day long, sitting in a room on sofas, playing guitar. And he wasn't much on teaching, but he shared a lot of his artist ideas and concepts. And you talking about musical, man, this guy, I don't know where people get ears like this. Wherever he's hearing from, I wished I had that connection. But somehow he and I just instantly bonded. And 2 weeks after that thing, he called me. He was coming somewhere to play and said, I'm going to be in Atlanta for a day. Can we have lunch? And I said, yeah. I said, matter of fact, I've got Braves tickets. He's a big Braves fan. I said, we can go to a ball game. So him and his friends stopped by and we went to a ball game, and he wound up staying longer. And this was back in, I don't know if you remember my warehouse at work. I had a kind of a bandstand set up with plenty of gear and PA, and
I don't know. I don't know if I do
You
remember
might have
that.
not ever gone in there, but it was like a full production stage, but it was really just for rehearsing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, and again, I was thinking I was doing pretty good. And now I've done met my hero, and I'm thinking, shoot, he might can help me. Anyway, we became friends and actually started working together a lot. He don't sing. So every time he would get some sort of gig thrown together that he felt like was worthy of doing some rehearsing and playing, he would invite me to come and play with him and kind of carry the vocal load and rhythm guitar. And he would let me play lead guitar too, but that is what he does. So I didn't have to do much. And we became real close. And a keyboard player friend of his, Tony Perino, up in Saratoga Springs, we just became comrades and worked together a lot for the next 2 or 3 years. And I guess my highlight of that, I went down one year and played a club there called the 5 O'Clock Club in Saratoga. And the bass player from the Greg Allman Band, Bruce Wable, he's gone now too, he came in and filmed it for us and did an audio video of it. And then at the end of it, he got up and sat in. We did the songs Demons from the Greg Allman Band album. And I'm sitting there singing that and playing guitar and looking around. Everybody on the stage, except for Greg Allman, was present.
Oh my gosh.
It was that Greg Allman Band. It was Frankie Toller, Dan's brother, was drumming.
Yeah.
It was Dan. Of course, Tony Perino was playing keyboards, but the bass player was Bruce Wable, who played on both of those albums. And I've got a CD of it and a video. So that might be one of the highlights for me, was that one gig. And I did several gigs with him later. And he came up, when I had that Wilson Braswell Band thing going on, before it ended, he came up when we were playing at that place called Backdrafts, or the Firehouse, when we were playing there a lot. He came up and brought Tony and Frankie, and we did a show and recorded it up there here in Atlanta that one night.
He played. That was a pretty big deal. What was
he played at Anthony's with us.
He played at Anthony's with us one night.
And you were there.
Yes.
He played, yeah.
He just started playing, and I'm just like, what? I mean, just the vocabulary of his guitar playing, right? I mean, he played everything. He would sound like a jazz player, and then he'd turn around and just be a Southern rock guy, and or a country guy. I mean, he could play everything.
He's one of the first people that helped me understand that being a musician means playing music, and you don't have to plug no genre in on it anywhere. Mm-hmm. Just express yourself musically. Yeah. And fit the song that's on the stage, and that's all you got to do.
That's it.
And he had a funny thing when a bass player would come in, he'd say, "Okay, cut off them bottom 2 strings. If I see you play above the 5th fret, I'm gonna slap you."
There's no money above the 5th fret.
No money above the 5th fret. Yeah.
That is the truth.
And he taught me about the pocket. He explained to me that the beat isn't just one little fine point. It's got a stretch. And you can play in the back of it, or you can play in the front of it. He said, but we're going to play in the back, and I'm going to show you how.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I experienced playing stuff that I had heard so many times at such a quicker tempo. But when he count off, he would get to rocking and look at the drummer and rock for a minute, and then he'd count it. And we played things like I'm No Angel or One Way Out, Whipping Post, things you played hundreds of times that you thought were so much faster. But when they played it live, it was nice to know what the pocket really meant.
That's it. Just so
what
deep,
it feels like.
Right? Yeah. That's it.
So that spoiled me now. So I like people that at least think on that level anyway and understand. What the back of the beat is. Yeah.
Well, and I can speak for both of us that we've both been very lucky to play with really good drummers.
Yeah.
And it's a good drummer can make a bad band sound pretty good, right?
Yeah. And Jimmy Mouton and George Sandler are both 2 good representatives of that.
They are. In similar yet very different ways, right? Yeah. And they both bring their own DNA and their fingerprint to the band. And it's just awesome, right? To get to to play with people that you just don't ever have to worry about where anything's sitting. They've got it taken care of.
I tell everybody that don't play, or even people that do and just haven't played much yet, I said it's really all about the bass player and the drummer. That's really the band. The rest of us, we're just icing and sprinkles on top of that cake. We're not really. We can't do much about whether it's in the pocket or not. If the drummer can't hold the bass player in line, or the bass player can't hold the drummer in line, it still don't matter what we do. Those two got to get you in there first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know what it's like for you, but it's one thing to be an instrumentalist dealing with that. But then when you add the whole layer of singing and there's struggles and fights over the tempo, and it's like you can tell that it's not agreeing. It's hard to sing with that's going on.
Well, that's exactly, I think that's what helped me identify it at first when it's rushing and I got to sing. No, thank you. I just can't.
Thank you. No, thank you.
It takes the whole emotion of the song away.
Yeah, that's it. If you can't convey the lyric to the audience
at all,
the tempo is too damn fast, and it's there's just too much going on, right? So I think one of the other things that I really, whether you realize this or not, one of the things I took from getting to play with you is that if we were playing Pretzel Logic or if we were playing Brown Eyed Girl, you gave 100% on every song you play and sing. And a lot of musicians, they phone in the songs that they don't want to do that's on the set. And that's not the way it should be.
No, sir.
That's not the way it should be. Because for somebody out there, any song may mean something to them that the musicians don't know. Yeah. And you gotta put everything into it,
people used to joke about Mustang Sally, but I always said, hey, what if you look out there and Wilson Pickett's sitting there watching you?
Yeah.
You want it to sound right and good.
That's exactly it.
And yet I'll mention something else Dan Toller told me. He said, when you play, you don't ever know who's watching you. And if they walk in on a night when you're screwing around and you ain't into it, it's a good chance next time they see your name, they won't even come in the door. He said, so you just don't know who's watching. Play like everybody's watching all the time.
Man, that's like, that should be the first page of every musician's book of learning how to play and playing in bands and playing. You got to do it because you don't ever know who's there, and
and all music is good. It's all good.
It is. You
just got to play it the best you can.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if it's getting older or what, but I think about the things of like every time I play is one less time I'm going to get to play.
Yep.
And it needs to matter, and the other thing about that is that there's a lot of people out there that would give anything in the world to be able to play in front of people and make a little money doing it. I'm not going to be a jerk about it and put my nose up at a song or whatever, or a gig that I shouldn't, we shouldn't be that way. Right.
No, I agree. No, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
And it's a big privilege. And I heard once that only 5% of all humanity are musical. 5%. That's including people that play in marching bands at high schools and stuff too. 5%.
That's so
it's pretty elite group of folks.
Yeah. Wow. When you put a number on it, we're very blessed people, aren't we? To just get to do it.
Yeah.
And just to think about, I mean, some of my best friends in the whole world are all people that I met through getting to play music. You know, and it's it's a good life that we've gotten to live, getting to do it, right? Yeah. How has the music? Because we moved in the summer of 2020, so we were right in the middle of the pandemic, and we're not in Georgia when things reopened and all that. What's the live music scene like there now post pandemic? Are things back to normal? Did a lot of places close down?
Yeah. Several did, but it seems like most of the places that I've played around the most of them survived, and most of the music venues are having music Fridays and Saturdays. Most of them are paying a little bit more than they used to.
That's good.
I think any decent band that don't mind being a cover band can work as much as they want to if they try to do a decent show.
Yeah.
We have guys that don't want to play as much as we're playing. It's funny to me again at 68 years old. I don't want to harp on being an old man, but I don't think I've ever been more serious about wanting to become a better player and wanting to do something else in this music business, whether it be create a body of work of my own or whatever. I've never wanted to play and been more serious about playing than I am right now. It's kind of crazy. At a time when I've already retired from my regular day job and supposed to be at that winter period of my life, heck, I'm ready to start playing 6 nights a week if
That's
I could.
Great. What do you think is the reason? Are you just enjoying it more, or what do you think?
I'm enjoying it more, and I think I'm just reached the point of being good enough to know what all I don't know, and I want to know more.
Yeah.
I want to be more intuitive. I want to be able to set in with somebody, and I don't care what they're going to play next, because give me a couple of measures of it, and I'll catch up.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
Man, that's awesome. And just a lifelong learner of it, right? And just to be willing to step out of your comfort zone, and just go for it. Do you write songs or anything?
I do. But I'm one of those that when I'm done with it, if I don't see it could be a hit, I usually lay it down and say, you can't write. But I've got some good friends that write a lot. And what they tell me is just write. Just write. Don't even worry about what it is. Just write.
It's one of those things I feel like I've tried it 1,000 times, but I don't think I've ever tried it seriously once.
Same here.
And I think that, I don't know if it would be good, but I think I could probably get something out of doing that consistently.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that might be something that I'd like to do a little bit more of. It's just...
Yeah. And you know what? I think that would be something people could probably be more serious about if they were collaborating with someone else too. And,
I agree.
When you're around 3 or 4 people that want the same thing and everybody can contribute and participate, I think magic could happen. And I don't mean chart record magic. I mean something that feeds you emotionally and gives you something to say to your audience, to where at least maybe people come to the club that night because your band is there, not because they wanted to catch dinner and see part of the Georgia game. They really wanted to come and hear this band because they've heard this really good band. That would be next level from where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And
instead of them coming to a place and going, "Wow, they got a great band," I wished it would have been, "We came here because y'all were playing."
Right. Well, and the other part of that is that we live in a really busy world now where people are pulled in a million different directions between, you work nobody works an 8 to 5 job anymore, an 8 hour a day job anymore. You're on call with email or whatever, taking your kids. All that to say, it's a big commitment to say, I'm going to go out and hear a live band.
Oh yeah.
Right. I'm going to go get a babysitter, or I'm going to go and not sit at home and catch up on some rest. I'm going to go out and hear a band. It means a lot to a musician in these days when people actively go out and listen to you play. It's there are a lot of reasons to not go. I think now
for
more than
most
ever.
of us, it's because we're always playing, and the nights we aren't, we really don't want to go watch someone who is. But that's just right all the way around.
Yeah. Do you listen to a lot of music?
I don't. I do. I'm trying to now, just because I think it'd be good for me.
Yeah.
I'm still quicker to grab a talk show on radio than I am a music station, but I'm trying to listen more just to force feed myself with some stuff that I haven't been exposed to.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I listen to a lot of podcasts, talk radio, especially when I was playing a ton. The last thing I wanted to do was to hear a song when I got in the car. Just like, I just need a break from it. I just need to not hear it for a while. But I started missing it. and missing just being a music. It's weird. It's like you start playing music and getting paid for it, and there's part of you, at least I'm just going to speak for myself, there's part of it that I don't want to say you lose the enjoyment as a music listener, but I kind of did a little bit, it's like, it kind of, I guess it's that feeling like a job thing, I hate that I felt that way about not wanting to listen to the songs that I listened to 1,000 times growing up,
that 4-year cycle I was telling you about when I started playing in bands and when I quit. The first year of that, it was, okay, I am a musician now. This is what I do. My whole family understands it and they're okay with it. I don't even have a place to live because I travel so much. I'm in a hotel every night. Pinch me. This can't be real. I'm not going to get to live my life doing this. It went from that to rolling back down to being a 6-night-a-week house band at a club in Panama City. And on Friday nights, seeing people who knowing, wow, they got off at 4:00 and they got the whole weekend to do whatever they want. And they're out here drinking and dancing. And I'm up here working my butt off on the stage. So I justified it by saying, I still like to play, but I don't like entertaining. I've called it getting tired of entertainment. Mm-hmm. But
that's a great way to think about it.
And so I stopped, but mostly I stopped because all of a sudden I had a 5-year-old kid and, and a wife and bills to pay and felt like I needed to do something more responsible. And the disco again was taking over the live music. I watched an interview that year with Greg Allman and Dickie Betts, and they were saying he couldn't buy a record deal that year. They were talking about how bad it was since the disco thing had moved in. And so, I made up a lot of excuses to quit. But and now, as I'm older and my kids were growing up, my advice to them was find something you love to do, and then you learn to live off what that pays.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be happy then. Don't get trapped by how much money you need and it keep you from doing your passion. That's what happened. That's what happened to me. I got in a different career and it supported me in a way that music couldn't. And, I lived in that for almost 50 years. Yeah. And finally retired from it. And it's like, I'd really like to plug back in where I unplugged in 1978, but I can't do that. But mentally I'm back to that part of it where I want to do this more than anything else I've ever wanted to do. Man. It's just tough to be at this age and feel like that because, there's a market for everything and there's not a big market for folks our age.
I get it. Boy, do I get it. But
somebody got to really like it to come watch us.
I get it. And I applaud you so much for it because I miss it. And I basically hung it up some years ago because I felt like I was just missing my whole life with my kids and everything.
Yeah. And the good news is though, there's time left after all that, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's it. And
more time than I thought there would be.
I'm listening to you say it and I'm just like, man, I want to hear myself saying everything you're saying because, and I love the fact that you're just not, it's easy to get complacent as a musician and just say, I do what I do. This is good. This is fine. It's got me this far. I'm going to keep doing it. But no, you're not satisfied with that. You want to be better.
Yeah, I definitely do. That don't mean I'll immediately go out and do what it is I need to do to really apply that. But in my heart, I know that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you play a lot at home?
I do, but unplugged with an electric guitar. So I have these little Boss Waza Air headphones that you put on and you can Bluetooth into it and you can Bluetooth music into it too. So I can put a Steely Dan album on and plug my guitar in and pretend I'm in the band for 45 minutes trying to figure out what they're doing.
Yes.
So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like we were saying, there's no substitute for playing with people, but boy, playing along with records. I mean, that was, and I can't speak for the new generation of musicians. I mean, I was talking to Skylar about that, about how, how accessible everything now. If you want to learn how to play a song on guitar, you just get on YouTube and you can find 500 videos in 5 seconds on how to do it. In our day, we'd have to we'd have to pick up the needle or rewind the tape back or wait till it comes back around on the 8-track, I suppose both of them were great they're great for their own reasons, but I'm thankful for the time I learned to play by playing along with records.
Someone asked me how most of the songs that I sing, how do I remember the lyrics for so long? And I said, because the only way I had to learn them when I was a teenager was to put the record on and listen and pick the needle up and write that part down and put it back down and listen. I mean, you had to figure out what it was they were saying, then write it down. And I said, and by the time you got the whole song written, you had already put that needle drop down so many times and heard it. Heck, you knew it.
You knew it. That's right.
Yeah, just get it. Once you got it completely written, you knew them.
Yeah, that, by the way, that is my, the thing that if I could say I wish I could do better is remembering lyrics. I have just that, oh boy. I do pretty well with it, but sometimes it's just like the initial learning the tune. It just seems to, I look at someone like Mike Veal and I'm like, how in the world do you remember all those songs, man?
That's something, isn't it?
Yes.
But the ones I remember are the ones I learned when I was 17 through age 25, probably.
Yeah.
If Hank were to call me tonight and say, hey, Friday, let's do this song, I could sit down tonight and learn it and learn the lyrics, and Friday limp my way through it. But if we don't play it every gig for the next 6 or 8 weeks, I'll completely forget the song and the lyrics by 2 weeks.
No, yeah, I get it.
And that gets worse every year.
Yeah. No,
And the other thing I think is I've never been one to try to read lyrics when I sang. I just I never could because I had to play. I didn't have a free hand or whatever to turn pages, so I just never did that. And people I know that have done that can't get away from it. They almost have to have that in front of them.
It becomes, and I've done my share of it, and I sing better when I don't have it in front of me. It's just to get, even with charts or whatever, when you can be more involved in what's going on around you if you're not attached to the music in front of you. No, I agree 100%.
When my first little introduction back into music in 1990 was at a small Pentecostal church in Gainesville. It was called the Church of Gainesville. And their praise team had a lot of songs, and they had printed lyrics with the chords written in on them. So in that year of that, I always sang and played from the book, and I had to keep doing it because that's just how I learned it that time.
Right.
And that's what taught me that you don't do that or you get stuck.
You get stuck in it. No, I agree. Yeah, I remember I started a lot of bands. I would just write the charts and I'd go play with the charts. And I remember I started playing with some guys, and I was like, I'm going to sit and I'm going to learn their tunes. I'm going to play along with their tunes until I know them. And it was such a much better experience right out of the gate because I felt like I could be present on stage with them. You know,
you can enjoy the music.
You can actually enjoy
You're not having to think your way through it.
Right. Exactly.
Same way in a band when like if we have a sub drummer or whatever, all of a sudden you got to make sure you help keep the train on the track rather than just enjoying the song like you normally do. So, and unless you got a sub that lights it up for you and you go, wow, I don't have to worry about this guy.
Right. Yeah. It's when you have the Sandlers and the Moutons of the world that'll come in and sub on it with your band and they play like they've been there all along, you're like, what? Yeah.
And and you find out later as you meet better players, you really know. I mean, that's to me, that's the sign of the good players. You don't notice that they don't play with you all the time. They came up and added something that made it even better.
Yeah. I think about Terry Emery when you were saying that. Yeah. I remember we used to, I don't know if you even remember this, but we would do like Play That Funky Music, and we would get to this keyboard solo and he would start playing the most out there but amazing solos, and I'm like, dude, that is so awesome what you're playing. And that's what he did to everything. He just brought his own thing to it. Man, I miss that guy. He was so good.
I do too, and I liked him. He always had good gear. He never had no noisy making buzz and hum problems.
Yeah.
And if there were any kind of extras, horn parts, strings, whatever, man, he could dial them up and
Just
nail them.
Just nail them.
Add so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. We've been so lucky to get to play with such great people over the years, haven't we?
I was thinking about Barry Thrasher. He probably, and I didn't even know him yet, but when I first started hearing him play, he probably had more to do with me wanting to play more later in life from just going to hear him play and getting to know him. I'd go to Fuzzy's. That's when they were at Fuzzy's every Wednesday. I'd go there on Wednesday nights. And Barry would always ask me if I want to play some, and I never would. I wouldn't. But I'd go home that night and I'd think, okay, now if I go next time they ask me, if I say yeah, wonder what they'll play. So I'll go through my head of stuff I heard them play that night, and I'd pick out certain Steely Dan songs and stuff and say, I'm going to learn these just in case.
Just in
Maybe
case.
one night I'll have the nerve.
Yeah.
But it did happen once at Nemo's, but it's because it was somebody's birthday and they talked Fred, the owner, into demanding they let me come up and sing Whipping Post or something. But I was in a club one night with Barry, and Barry said, man, I got to get out to hear you play. And I said, believe me, Barry, you're not missing nothing not hearing me play. He said, Wilson, Jimmy Mouton said you're a good player. And I said, Barry, Jimmy's a drummer. I said, I can't play like Barry Thrasher. And he said, you know what? I probably can't play like Wilson Braswell either. I'll never forget him saying that to me. That warmed me up to him and made me feel so much better.
What an amazing thing, and what an amazing person, human being.
Yeah, he really was. He really was. I miss him so bad.
Yeah, and a freaking force on the guitar. Oh my gosh.
And when we were playing, I think was it Good Old Days in Sandy Springs, right there at 285 and Roswell Road.
Yep.
They decided they want to have, it was their Sunday nights when they did the late night service industry night where they had DJs doing hip hop music. They wanted to try having a band up until midnight. So Terry Evans got me booked in there. It might have been me and you and Gino and Jimmy, or me and you and Jimmy and George.
So,
but
was it played, or was it American Pie?
American Pie, yeah.
That's right. Yep. Pie. Yep. I remember playing there.
During that month, Barry came out with his girlfriend to 3 or 4 of our gigs. And that wasn't like him to do that. And I always tried to get him to get up and play, and he wouldn't either. So he kind of put that thing in me. I usually will decline if someone asks me to get up and play, because it's not my gig. And most of the time, though, it's because I'm intimidated. But, he never would do that either. Barry would never come up. Always wanted to play with him, and I never got to.
Yeah. I don't like to go. I like to go hear people play, but I don't like to go with the intention to sit in.
Oh, no, me either. And I'm so afraid when I walk in, they think that's what I want to do. But I also don't like that guy that will come in and come straight to the stage and say, hey, can I sit in?
Right. Yes. Yeah. I've sat in with a few. I sat in with Mike Veal's band one time, and I felt very uncomfortable doing it. It's their gig, and I just want to come and
enjoy the music,
get my tank refilled, listening to them play. I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on it. Well, Wilson, buddy, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I could sit here and talk to you about this stuff all night long. I feel like we've been on here 5 minutes. I'm looking down. I'm like, I'm holding this guy up here, buddy. Man, I want you to know how much I love you, and I thank you for all the amazing times we've gotten to play music together over the years.
Oh, I love you too, brother. I miss you bad.
Sure, I miss you too. We've had some good times, and I don't think we're finished yet. That said, my mom and I are going to have a joint birthday party next year, and we're going to do it. Her birthday's in July and mine's in November, and we've decided we're going to do a party in the middle. And I just get ready because we're going to it's going to be a big music thing and I want you to come and play it.
Count me in. Count me in.
We're just going to hang out and just play music and have fun and just celebrate. So, yeah, I'm get ready because it's going to happen.
Sounds great.
Well, best of luck, buddy. Keep going. Just and everybody check out Wilson. You're playing with Hank Bird a lot these days. Do you guys put stuff on Facebook or
it's on Facebook, and if you go wilsonbraswell.com,
yes.
it's really just directs it to a Reverb Nation page that I have, but my schedule is always on it. It's always up to date. Anywhere I'm playing, it's in there. And there's some music. There's plenty of you on there too.
Oh, cool. All right.
All the stuff that you and Gino and Jimmy and I did that night in my studio, all 10 of those songs are on that website.
Oh, well, I'm going to go listen to it as well. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to go check it out. That was fun recording those tunes.
It sure was.
Yeah. Well, I encourage everybody to go listen to his music online and then go listen to him in person. You will not be disappointed, I promise.
Thank you, Brad.
All right. Thank you, Wilson.
Thanks for listening to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm your host, Brad Williams. The show's theme is called Playcation and was written by Mark Mundy. Drop me a line at the email address, thebandwichtapes@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe to receive new episodes of the podcast. And while you're at it, please tell someone else about the show. Thanks for listening.